Namaste everyone, I am Akshara Samskriti and I am back with the second episode of the Living Sanskrit series. In the last episode, we talked about the 16 swaras of Sanskritam. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the vyanjanas or consonants in Sanskritam. Now if you saw the previous video on the swaras or vowels, you'll definitely notice a few connections as we go on with this episode. There are three main connections. The first one is that they are separated as the vowels and the consonants, whereas in the European languages, they're all mixed together under the one title of the alphabet. Our second point is that both the swaras and the vyanjanas are organized by groups based on where their sound originates from. Our third point is that in the swaras, we had two different types of sounds, same in the vyanjanas. In the swaras, this was the hrasva and dirgha types. The hrasva is the short and dirgha is the long sound. In the vyanjanas, we have the soft and hard types, which are the alpa prana and maha prana. Before we go into the details of how the vyanjanas are arranged, let's have a quick overview of all of them first. We have ka, kha, ga, gha, nga, cha, cha, ja, jha, nya, ta, tha, da, dha, na, ta, tha, da, dha, na, pa, pha, ba, bha, ma, ya, ra, la, va, sha, sha, sa, ha, and sometimes as an add-on, la. These vyanjanas are divided into 7 sections. We have kanthya, which means from the throat, talavya, which means palatal, murdhanya, which is the rolling of the tongue but in an upward motion, then dantya, which means from the teeth, oshtya, from the lips, antastha, somewhat in between the swaras and the vyanjanas, and ushmana, which is a collection of leftovers from the other sections. Let's look at the first section of vyanjanas. This section is the kanthya section, which represents the guttural sounds. For example, the English letters K and G, or rather K and G. Now if you take any English word with the letters K or G, you'll most likely see that that's where they come from, the back of your throat. The kanthya sounds in Sanskritam, or the guttural sounds, are K, K, G, Gha, and Nga. Now, as you can see, or rather hear, there's the held back K and the strong K. Same with G and Gha. There is a held back version and a strong version. This held back version is what we call in Sanskritam the alpa prana, and the strong version is maha prana. The alpa prana literally means less breath, and maha prana means more breath, or actually bigger breath. The written version of Sanskritam is called the Devanagari script. In the Devanagari script, you have totally different looking letters for sounds that sound similar, like in ka and ka. you can see that they look very, very different, so it's quite easy to differentiate it while reading. Same with g and gh. In English, for k and k, you just have one letter, which is k. Now, if an Indian were to read a Sanskritam word written in English, they would have to see a KH for them to know that it's K. But if it's just K, it's just a K. Now this brings me to an interesting and funny topic: accents. So if someone who doesn't natively speak English is reading English, they'll most likely bring their own linguistic background into what they're reading. So I have 4 words as examples for the Kantya section. So we have KITE. A native English speaker, and specifically with an American accent, would say kite. But an Indian would read this as kite, because kite in the American accent sounds like a k, as in the Mahaprana sound. But there isn't a KH, there's only a K. We need the KH for Indians to comprehend it as K. So they would read it as kite. My next example is for K, which is Khan, like Khan Academy. So an American would read it as Khan Academy, and so would an Indian, because there is a KH to represent that Mahaprana sound. So Khan Academy for both. Then we have goat. Someone with an American accent would also say it as goat, like me. But an Indian would also say it as goat, because there isn't a GH to make it goat. And that brings me to our last example, which is GHOST, ghost. Now, I have an American accent, so I say it like ghost. But someone who speaks Sanskritam or Hindi, or generally an Indian, would read this as ghost, because there's the GH to signify the Mahaprana sound. So we have kite, Khan, goat, and ghost. Moving on to the last letter in this section, ng. Now ng can usually be found preceding g, k, g, or g, but merged together. Instead of ng ka would be ka, or ka, like in shankha. Shankha means conch in Sanskritam. Now, shankha will be written in English romanized as SHANKHA. That NKH doesn't make it shanka. Don't shun the in shanka. And another example, this word is actually found commonly, and you may have heard it somewhere. It's Ganga, a name of a very famous river in India. Now Ganga, you can see the g and the ng, like in Shankha. You can notice the differences in the letters, but still you can see that they are put together because ng also comes from the back of your throat, making it a guttural sound, which is why it fits into this section with g, k, and g, gh. Let's look at a few English examples of the Kantya ng. Wait, English. That has the ng. English. So, a few examples besides English are pink, think, thank, gang, and any word that ends with ing, like hoping. For this guttural ng sound, Sanskritam has a very distinct letter for this. But in English, all of these nga sounds are denoted with just one letter, N. Now the N can change its sound depending on where you find it, like in conch and panther. Conch is the Talavya version, or the palatal form, and panther is the Dantya form, or the dental form, making this completely different from the Kantya nga, even though it's still the English letter N. Our second group is the Talavya group. The Talavya group represents palatal sounds. A palatal sound is where you take the middle of your tongue and press it against the roof of your mouth, producing sounds like cha, cha, ja, jha, or nya. So for these first two sounds, the cha and cha, we don't have an individual English letter for either of them, as cha, as C, won't actually be found as cha, because it can be found like pencil or cat. But cha in English would have to be written as ch, like in pouch. But ch in Sanskritam would be cha. So this is a bit confusing for romanization. So you can either write it Italian style and put C, like in Gucci, for cha, and ch for cha. Or you can write ch, like in pouch, for cha, and chh as cha. And I've seen many variants of these, and it's a little confusing. So this reminds me of something really, really funny. So if an Indian were to read the word change, it would become change. And that reminds me, there are a few restaurants. One is called P.F. Chang's, then a Harry Potter book character, Cho Chang. I had a really tough time recording this. I keep dying of laughter. So our next is the ja and jha. There isn't really jh in English, so we're saved. So the ja can be found in January and jump. And jha, like I said, not really there. And some Sanskritam examples for this. So cha, we have chakra, which means wheel. Then for cha, we have chhatra, which means umbrella. Then for ja, we have janaka, which means father. Then for jha, we have jashaha, which means fish. Now, the jh, as in jha, is actually not so common in Sanskritam either. I actually had to look through a few books to find an example for this. So you won't really see it that often. Moving on to the last vyanjana in this section, we actually have this inja sound in vyanjana, and a few more examples are in panjara, which means cage, pancha, which is 5, and sanjana. The English equivalent is in poncho and inch, and in ginger, which it's a G, so ginger, but English is English, so it's ginger. And I will conclude this for now, but we will continue the vyanjanas in the next video. Namaste.